الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد وعن ميمونة بنت الحارث أنها اعتقت وليدة في زمان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فذكرت ذلك لرسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فقال لو أعطيتها أخوى لك كان أعظم لأجرك متفق عليه. Sadaqah to relatives. My dear respected brothers, elders, from the last week's dars we started a topic on the best type of charity. The author had on the chapter Babu Afdal Sadaqah, the best type of charity. Many times brothers have this question, how should we distribute our wealth? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us wealth. How should this sadaqah and charity be given? Who is more eligible to receive this sadaqah and this charity? So in today's dars, inshallah, we will learn about how sadaqah is more rewarding to give to the relatives. Number two, in this chapter also, the author has brought the ahadith, which is one type of charity is being considerate to your neighbor. And in fact, the authors brought 2-3 ahadith related to being kind to the neighbor and also to the poor and needy. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us wealth. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned in the Quran, in many places, in Surah Al-Baqarah, we find in Surah Al-Hadid, in Surah Al-Baqarah, وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ, and the provision that we have provided them with, they spend in Allah's path. So one success for our success in this dunya and in the akhirah is that we spend. Then Allah mentioned in Surah Al-Baqarah, الَّذِينَ يُنْفِقُونَ أَمْوَالَهُمْ بِاللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ, those that spend during the night, during the day, in secrecy, openly. Some type of sadaqah is done openly, some is done in secret. The one that is done openly is to encourage others. The one that is in secret is for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so there's no chance of any riyah that is done for others. So different verses, and Allah mentioned in Surah Al-Hadid also, وَأَنْفِقُوا مِمَّا جَعَلَكُمْ مُسْتَخْلَفِينَ فِيهِ, spend. And it's mentioned in Surah Hadid very clearly, spend. Because مُسْتَخْلَفِينَ فِيهِ, now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has given this wealth to us before it was in someone else's hand. What they had done with that, whether they did spend in a good way, in a bad way, is gone now. Now we have it and it will go to someone else after us. What are we going to do? Are we going to invest for our akhirah and do good things? Or either we can spend it on the dunya and worldly things and there's no gain, there's no benefit. So what the Quran encourages us that we invest it for our akhirah by spending it in sadaqah and charity. And one way is those that are more eligible to receive this is the relatives. Sayyidina Maymuna bint al-Harith radiallahu narrated, she set free a female slave during the time of Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and she had mentioned that to him, and he said, had you given her to your maternal uncles, that would have earned you more reward. So from the hadith, which is very clear, we understand spending on sadaqah, you will get reward. But if you have any relatives and you spend on them, then you will get more reward. Because one reward is for sadaqah and one reward is for joining ties. You see, Islam and our deen has taught us to join ties. You have close relatives, you must join ties with them. You cannot break up with them. Today we find in a society, masjid, mashallah, practicing brothers, with the sunnah, praying salah, praying with jamaat, or it could even be in the first row, but sometimes we have fallouts with our close relatives, and sometimes we say such things that, we will not speak again. Islam and our deen does not allow those. There are strict warnings for those that break ties with their close relations. Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam has taught us that if we give sadaqah to our relatives just for joining ties with them, even now we have this amongst Arabs now, they would even ring their brother or sister, and because they're Arabs, they know some of the narration, so they would call one another just to see how they are, their brother and sister, because they know the narration and the hadith that if you join ties with your close relatives, Allah will increase in your rizq sustenance. You will have barakah in your rizq. It's one way of increasing rizq, joining ties with your close relatives, blood relations, your mother, your father, your brother, your sister. From your father's side, your chacha or your taya, your father's older brother, younger brother. From the father's sister, mother's sister, all these relations, nieces, nephews, grandparents, they're all blood relations, which Islam has encouraged that you must keep good ties with them. Do not break ties with them. And if they are poor, then help them and give sadaqah. Sometimes brothers ask, I've got a very close relative, but they give me a hard time, or they have done some things which are unforgivable at times. It can happen. It can happen to anyone, but that does not mean that we break ties with them. We do salam, ask how they are, if they need any help. It's clear that things may not be as they were before, but we can do at least the bare minimum. If we cut off with them without even any salam, then we are wrong. Aisha radiallahu anha asked Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam that she had two neighbors. To which of them she should send her gifts? He said, to the one near to your door. So if we look in this chapter, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in the Sadaqah chapter, the author has brought hadith related to neighbor, which is telling us to be kind to your neighbors is very important in our deen, in our religion. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned in the Quran, we find about the neighbor. When Allah mentions in the Quran, وَعْبُدُ اللَّهَ وَلَا تُشْرِكُوا بِهِ شَيْئًا, worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, do not associate any partners with Allah. Huququllah. Then Allah straight away moves on to Huququl Ibad. وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. From Huququl Ibad, the most important people that you have to look after and be kind to is your parents. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala moves on further. Then it comes about the neighbor also, that be kind to your neighbor. Be good to them. And who has the more deserving of gifts, more deserving of our help is the one that is closer. Closer, as Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has mentioned. It does not mean the other neighbors have no rights. They will also, that we do not, we take care of them. But the one that is closer will have more rights, more deserving. And the least that we can do is do not give any grief to our neighbor. Man kana yu'minu billahi wal yawmil akhir. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned, whoever believes in Allah and in the last day, do not give any grief to your neighbor. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned that Jibreel alayhi salam came to me, and so many things were mentioned about rights of neighbors that I thought that maybe he will have a share in inheritance. And today, if we're giving grief to the people that are living around us, then we cannot have full faith, full iman. So we have to be mindful in every way that we should not give any grief to our neighbors. And further, Sayyidina Abu Dharr radiallahu anh narrated Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, when you prepare gravy, put in more water and think of your neighbors. You have neighbors around also, and they can smell the nice meat curry that you're making. Sometimes your neighbors, maybe not in this country, but other countries, there's poor neighbors that are living next to you, and they can smell the meat that you are cooking. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam encouraged that make more and give it to them also. Sometimes you have neighbors that may not eat the food that we have, so whichever way we can, we should look after them. They become old, they become needy, helping them out with the shopping, and this will have an effect. Indeed, it will have an effect on them. Sayyidina Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu narrated, he asked, which sadaqah charity is the best? He said, the effort of one with little property. Begin to give to those who are under your responsibility. So again, encourage those that are under your responsibility, your children, taking care of them. One will also get the reward of sadaqah. Sayyidina Salman ibn Amir radiallahu anh narrated Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, sadaqah, charity given to the needy is one sadaqah charity, but given to a relative, it is two deeds. One sadaqah charity and one joining ties of kinship. Sayyidina Abu Hurairah radiallahu anh narrated that a man came to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and said, I have a dinar. He said, spend it on yourself. He said, I have another one. He said, spend it on your children. He disclosed that he had one more, and he said, spend it on your wife. He again disclosed another and was told to spend it on his servant. When he said that he had one more, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, you should know better where to spend it. Meaning, find out who is the most deserving for this sadaqah. Sayyidina Ibn Abbas radiallahu anh narrated Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, shall I not inform you of the best of all people? It is a man who holds his horse reins in Allah's path in the battlefield. Shall I not inform you of the one who follows him? He said, the man who secludes himself with a few goats that he owns and pays the right of Allah on them. Meaning giving his zakat. Shall I not inform you of the worst of all people? He said, he is a man who is asked for something in Allah's name, but he does not pay anything at all. So when someone is asked in Allah's name, giving whatever one has in their means, give it to them. If you think they're not eligible, do not shout at them. Do not scold them. Give dua to them. Make dua. May Allah make things easy for you. Do not shout at them in any way, as we learn from Surah Al-Duha. Not scold them. But if you have something, even if it's less, give it to them. If not, just give them dua. May Allah make things easy for you. May Allah make it easy. That's what we can do. Sayyidina Bujayd radiyallahu anh narrated Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, turn away the beggar with something, even with a burnt hoof only. Meaning, do not let them go empty-handed. Something that you have, just give it to them, even if it's something which is small. Sayyidina Ibn Umar radiallahu anh narrated Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, if anyone asks you for protection in Allah's name, let him have it. If anyone begs in Allah's name, give him something. If anyone invites you, then accept it. If anyone shows you a favor in words or deeds, return the kind gesture. If you do not find anything that you can give, then pray for him till you have convinced that you have recompensed him fully. Meaning that you have given the reward fully, either through dua that you can make for them. So this is again that we find from the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. They practice this, and we learn Sayyidina Aisha radiallahu anha. Whenever a beggar would come, then she would pray for them. She would first pray and then give them something. So we also learn from the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam what they had done and how their kind treatment was for those that are poor and needy. So this is a type of ibadah, how we can spend our wealth. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability to understand what we have said, heard, spread on to others. Ameen. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursaleen walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.